Log number 15, communication. Well, this is a world where communication is important. We all know this, but in the world of Helpdesk, for anybody who doesn't know, and for anybody who's unaware, when you have to help people, you have to communicate with them. You know, whether it's through the phone, whether it's through email, whether it's through chat, whatever they want to call it. Communication is important. Being able to talk to a user and say, hey user, you have this, or what's your problem? And the user has to tell you, and you got to figure out how to translate that into something relevant to where you can actually fix it. It's actually a little bit difficult, especially when the user, you know, no offense to the user, but the user may not know what the heck is going on. All they know is, hey, when I click this button, and nothing happens. And then you as an agent have to figure out somehow through magic and mysticism that their internet explorer is down. I mean, yeah, that's obvious, right? Everybody figured that out. It's so obvious. But communication is a two-way street, and yeah, it's one thing to have to understand what the user has issues with. It's another thing as an agent to figure out how to explain it to the user what the issue is, so they'll trust you enough to actually let you fix it. Case in point, there are many times where user will get confused as to what you're trying to do, and they think you're doing something completely different, and then you're trying to help them, and you're like, no, I'm trying to help you, just relax, and they're like freaking out and, like, you know, trying to shut down everything and just like report you to your manager or whatever. Not that this ever happened to me, because it actually never has, because I'm actually pretty good with communication. I think so. That's just me bragging about myself, but that's not the point here. The point is there are people within the area, there are other agents who have a little bit of trouble communicating with the user. And you know, it's sometimes funny to watch as they yell at the user and the user yells at them, and then the management gets involved and they say, hey manager, tell them please, and then they tell them, and then the users yell at the manager yell at the user. It's all fun and games until somebody gets fired. But not saying it's ever happened. I actually haven't witnessed that directly happening, although I feel like by extension sometimes that may have happened. But let's not talk about that. Let's not dwell on that. Help desk communication is important. That's the main thing. See, there's a communication as well from the agent to the user, and there's also communication between the agent and their other agents. And this is where the fun for me comes in, because I've been working where I'm working for about a year in the help desk world, actually a year plus, so a year plus maybe 2 months or so. So, you know, I'm not too terribly senior or anything, but I'm senior relative to a lot of the people who showed up. And it's funny when the other agents who are newer say, hey CulBlu, I have this issue, I have a problem with this thing, and I don't know why it's not working, what am I supposed to do to fix it? And I'm, as an agent, just treating them as a user. No offense to them, of course, but it's like, okay, well, can you tell me what context? Can you tell me you're talking about Windows password? Are you talking about this application? Talking about that application? Could be anything. Is the user dead? Are they still alive? Are you sure they have blood running through them? Are you sure they're not a vampire? You know, just confusing things. You know, just standard things you have to talk about. You gotta verify that they're human. And sometimes the newer agents will look at you and just say, I didn't think to ask that. I'll be right back with you. Hold on, give me a second. Let me go ask them real fast. And then they go ask them, and then you feel satisfied in your mind as a senior agent, knowing that you helped open the world. You helped them figure out that one thing that's going to help them solve the issue. And then they come back to you with more questions, and then you're like, oh, okay, well, I tried. Anywho, so communication is very important. There's also one last key thing. There's a war going on. Oh, we all know there's a war going on. But there's always a war going on in any work environment where, you know, you have the people on the ground doing one thing, you have the manager doing another thing. There's always a disconnect between management and the people on the ground, no matter how hard manager tries. You know, at the end of the day, there's some things that we as the people on the ground don't need to know, and there's some things that they and management don't necessarily know that we actually go through. So it's a communication imbalance, obviously, but I just find it funny when we start talking about management, and, you know, not in a super bad way, well, most of us at least, not in a super bad way, but we start talking about management as agents, talking about, you know, why do we do this, why do that, and some agents are defending it, some agents are going against it, and then the leads get involved, and they start talking about, we start having our conversation, you know, just a very, very straightforward debate, more or less. Doesn't really matter what we say, because nobody really cares about what the ground people say anyway, most of the time. So it's always fun to, like, have those conversations, just think, like, I wonder what management has conversations about. Like do they actually attempt to communicate some of the things that they have to deal with? Because I'm pretty sure the things they have to deal with are a lot more complicated than what we have to deal with, to a certain extent. You know, logistics of people, it's a lot harder than just logistics of technology, to a certain extent, of course. But I digress. My point being, communication is important in all levels of any business that you go in, especially help desk, because when you're trying to provide a service to a customer, you know, trying to do some customer service stuff, the customer has to be able to explain it, and even if they can't explain it, you're expected as a professional to understand what's going on and figure it out, dissect it and go for it. So communication is important in the help desk world. That's my main point, and some people are bad at it, like some people are horrible at it, and then others are really good at it, and others are kind of good at it. They use big words, but they're not necessarily that great at it. But let's not talk about them right now. Anywho, I'm gonna go ahead and cut it there before I keep on going. So like I said, I digress, so bye.
So when we say to ourselves, you must go on, the reason is, you see, that we are not living in the eternal now, where reality is. We are always thinking that the satisfaction of life will be coming later. Don't kid yourself.